Thank you very much. Yes, it's 30 years. I started consulting in aged care in June 1987. I was still in school. And that was after 5 years in the Department of Nursing Homes with the federal government, where I was a delegate. So it'll be 35 years. It's already 35 years this month that I've been in aged care. Look, today, I had the opportunity to speak 2 years ago here, and in that time, I was particularly looking at what the changes ahead in home care might bring. Right now, we're in the middle of those changes. The big change of effective deregulation of home care came in on 27 February. I'm going to have a look at what's happening. I'm going to give you 4 examples that we're working with different clients around the country on making use of that home care and the impact that that's having on retirement living. And then I'm going to provide 3 slides of predictions for resi care, retirement living and home care. And if I'm invited back in a couple of years' time, I'll put those predictions up and we'll see how we go. Okay, residential care. This graph shows the continued extremely poor occupancy in residential care in Australia. The occupancy as at 30 June last year was 92.4%. That means that tonight there are 15,000 empty beds in nursing homes in Australia. And it has been bumping along at that level, that's that black line there, for some years. I'll make some suggestions as to where that occupancy might go as the talk continues. That blue line there, I'll touch on that in a minute, that's the occupancy rate or the utilisation rate in home care. Currently, as at 30 June last year, just bouncing along at 81%. Incredibly, the number of new beds that are being built in residential care in Australia is not contributing an increase of more than 3,500 beds a year to the total number of beds in the country. Now, we're probably building about 6,000 beds a year, but we're closing 2,500 beds a year while we do it. So the net increase, we haven't, for the last 6 years, we haven't built in excess of 3,500 a year. The government tells us that we need 7,600 a year and has told us since 2012, Living Longer, Living Better, that we needed 7,600 or 8,000 beds a year to keep up with the needs in our country. I put it to you that with occupancy bouncing along at historically lowest levels of 92.4%, if we were actually banging up an extra 4,000 beds a year, it would probably be challenging our occupancy in residential care even more than it is now. Why do we not have more beds getting on the ground in residential care in Australia? There are more old services closing. We're moving 4-bed wards into 2-bed wards. We're moving 2-bed wards into 1-bed wards. Home care growth is assisting people to remain at home, and particularly home care growth in all types of retirement living activities. And I'll speak with you about the different types of retirement living activities and how the home care works in them, including unfunded nursing homes. And finally, I'll note that there is an enormous amount of beds already out there that are not built, that there are provisional approvals. The government has allowed us to have over 40,000 provisional approvals, as they're called, or offline places, which means beds that were approved and we're currently not using them. Plus, there's another 10,000 neat that were approved with the last ACAR, 2016, which closed back in October, and sometime in the next couple of months, the government will announce the successful applicants for those. 50,000 available beds. There's only 196,000 beds in the country. At some point, eventually we'll get to the point where we'll say maybe we've got too many beds, and at that point we might see the market to buy beds contract very significantly. Home care. The occupancy rate in home care has never been good. Last year at 81%, it reflected it was only a couple of months after the announcement of the previous ACAR, Aged Care Approvals Round. And the ACAR had given out a further 6,000 high care home care places. That's level 3 and level 4, the sort of home care that provides people with assistance of, say, 9 hours a week to, say, 14 hours a week of help at home. Those 6,000 had only just been announced 2 months before 30 June last year. We've seen most of those 3s and 4s taken up. That's that orange line at the bottom of this one. However, we always have 10,000 empty level 2 places in this country. Now, the deregulation, which happened a few weeks ago, has provided us with large amounts of organisations which are brand new and freshly minted approved providers whose sole purpose is to provide home care. I can assure you that they will make every possible use of those empty 10,000 places, and my projection is that they will all get used up and put into use very swiftly. We'll also give a great win to all of you who are new entrants to home care. You can get into these level 2s in every region in Australia. There are empty level 2 places today. There's 11,000 of those that were vacant, 10,000 of those were level 2s, 1,000 were level 1s. Level 2s, think of them as being about 4 hours funded assistance a week. Level 1s, think of it as being about 2 hours funded a week. The marketing that we're having is extraordinary, and I'll show you a picture that I saw at Sydney Airport yesterday, a picture I took at Sydney Airport yesterday. What is going to drive the utilisation of these packages? Changing the cost. Many providers, the new ones, are offering level 1 and level 2 packages at a fee of nil. You will get 4 hours a week assistance for a cost of nil. If you are a full pensioner, it is nil and there's no income tested fee. It's a good deal. And it's a lot cheaper than what used to be called HAC and is now called CHSP, Commonwealth Home Support Program. The percentages to the consumers, of the money that is available in the package, new providers who are advertising heavily and who are all sitting there on My Aged Care today are offering that 85%, even 90% of the available money in the package will be used for a budget for the consumer to spend. Many of the old system providers, who I've worked with successfully for many years, have based that percentage more at 55%. They've had a 20% admin fee, a 25% case management fee. Many of us have moved away from having contingency amounts. It's an enormous difference, and I'll show you an example in a minute of what the difference in the equation is for these new ones. The hourly rates that are offered, some of the new providers in home care are offering cheaper hourly rates, significantly cheaper than the traditional providers. And exit fees. All exit fees have to be advertised. If you don't advertise them, you can't charge them. That means when people leave your program and go to a nursing home or another provider or whatever, there's an exit fee that the existing provider can charge. There are a number of providers who are advertising nil exit fees, and that is a beneficial marketing tool, shall we say, compared to those who offer exit fees of $2,000. Those of you with $1,000 and $2,000 exit fees have to somehow market that to people as being some sort of positive thing. Most people wouldn't see it as such. This ad here for our care, care at home and care in your home, greeted me when I got off the plane from Brisbane, sunny Brisbane yesterday, and it probably greeted a lot of you if you flew here from interstate. They are the same in Brisbane and the same in Melbourne. I can't go down the street without seeing a sign for these ones, and many others of you, including a number of people I see in here. The marketing for home care is spectacular. The equation. Here's an example of the equation. Put it on this one over here. The old system ones, we typically give 4 hours assistance a week. New system ones, 5 hours a week. The fee, $10 a day, $70 a week, $140 a fortnight, old system. The new system one's a very attractive fee of nil. And hook in onto the websites and have a look at the fees that are offered by the new providers. And they're not little groups. They're great big groups. We've already seen Home Instead showing up on the board today. All the Home Instead organisations, major providers of domestic services and care services and nurses across the country, franchise off an American model. They're all approved providers, and they're all out there to make use of home care and to do it in a cost-effective way, and their object is to grow and grow and grow. Case management. The case management, many of the old providers, we see amounts of up to 25% for case management. It's very important, but I've got to tell you that for many level 2 programs, the residents are on the same services, the same assistance at the end of the year that they were at the start of the year. The case management can be readily put in at 5 or 10% and then just have an additional fee should people need significant case management in a post-acute phase or some other client-initiated reason. The inclusion of the very large amounts is probably very difficult for us to market. The equation for a level 4 package. Level 4 packages are fantastic. Everybody loves them. There's around 25,000 level 3 and level 4 packages in the country. Most of them are level 4. If you have a 15% case management, which many have, then you can provide 13 hours, my mistake, I can't read that. You can see I've been here for 30 years. 14 hours a week, assistance, hands-on, 2 hours a day, instead of the old system providers who, after significant case management, admin and or contingency fees, could only provide 9 hours a week. It's a very compelling argument, and it's going to be so difficult to see the old system providers transition from the more gold standard level of case management and admin to ones that can compete with these multitude of new providers. What's the best place for delivery of home care? In many cases, it's not at home, despite the name. The best place for many people is in retirement living activities. I'm going to give you 4 examples of ones we're involved with at the moment. A traditional ALU. It's a nice place, 30 years old, good condition, good location, hard to keep residents in there. Wanted to make the value proposition better. The operators didn't want to become approved providers. Fortunately, the village manager did. The village manager has been brokering the services to the residents. The village manager will soon be an approved provider. They've got 15 brokered packages now. There's 22 people who are approved for level 2, 3 or 4 packages at this village, but I'm fairly confident the real figure will be 123. These villages are old. The people in there have been there for 10 years and more. It happens, every one of you who has a village that is 20 years old, 25 years old, you have a lot of old people in there. And many of them will be receiving assistance, and many of them would receive assistance if you gave them the right deal. If you offered it at the right price, and if you did it yourself and you proselytised it yourself. For the provider, next year we'll easily do $400,000 in income, make a $100,000 return. The provider is very happy that they have a new income stream and an asset for their superannuation fund. The provider of the retirement village is very happy. The unit sale prices have gone up very nicely. The village is full. Challenges, we had to work out new systems, we had to put in policies and procedures, and we had to work out what to do about level 4s. Now that means where people have high frailty, we have to work out what we're going to do at that. We don't know yet whether we will go down the path of having registered nurses. We may simply put that off to other major mainstream organisations, and we'll simply provide transportation, emotional support, cleaning and ADLs. It's a good position to be in. Next one, unfunded residential care. 100 places, 2 services in Melbourne. They're called SRSs. Do you know how many SRSs there are in Melbourne? In Victoria, there's 287. They are unfunded services. Many of them are a bit dull, but some of them are absolutely beautiful unfunded nursing homes. And these unfunded nursing homes, they pop up elsewhere. They have them in Queensland. There are no ingoings. Nobody pays a rat. They pay a fee, and the fee's pretty high, $1,000 to $1,500. $1,500 is for the frailest of the people in here. occupancy is a real problem. Occupancy in Melbourne in nursing homes is rotten. Therefore, they are taking anyone, and they're pushing very hard. They're taking occupancy away from my people with their unfunded nursing homes. Solution, home care funding. Every single person in an SRS of this nature is eligible for home care funding. Every last one of them. Mostly they're eligible for level 4 funding. Our operator is now an approved provider. We're offering a reduction in fees at the top end, level 4 people who are pensioners. We're offering a reduction in fees of $650 a week. And we're making profit and we're getting better occupancy. We've got a new target group. It's called pensioners. Pensioners couldn't get in before because we charged too much. Now we can get pensioners and part pensioners. Our target group has opened up. Challenges. Getting the key referrers to understand what we're doing. Yep. There's a real marketing activity. Getting hold of level 4 packages. Many people have to sit on level 2s, but that's fine. If we've got pensioners in there who are on level 2 packages, we're still able to reduce their fees because we're providing all the assistance to these people in the SRS anyway. And we had to put in enhanced recording systems and software and so on. Medium-sized retirement village that didn't want to do the home care itself has established a good relationship with a large agency group. It's sort of like a Home Instead, but it's not Home Instead. It's another one of our clients. And that agency group, they are extensive, they are very long and successful in getting nurses and other assistants into nursing homes. They're an agency for staff. I'm sure you all use them. The RV group wants to have something else to help them market and sell. They know they've got to do something about care, but they didn't want to become care providers and they didn't want to get involved in it. They didn't want to even have to worry about where the duty of care sat. Agency wanted to get bigger, so we made the agency an AP. We've now got a packaged offering. We're putting in exercise classes and barbecues. Why are we doing that? It's called marketing. We run these things free of charge, and not just for the people who are on packages, everybody. The villages are more interesting. We have one of our nurses at the village every week. And all the village people can come along and say, I think I may be eligible for home care, can you help me work it out? I say, well, I think you probably can be too. Medication prompts. In retirement villages, we have no difficulty having 6-minute intervals of care. Now, of course, you can't imagine having an external provider wandering in to give somebody a medication prompt in the car and then driving out again. But it's easy for us. We'll have 15, 20 people per village who we're providing assistance to. We have the staff there every day, every morning and every afternoon. We have home care staff there. We're doing it in 15-minute intervals, which is nice. And challenges. Well, it takes 10 weeks to get ACAT'd, to get approvals for these people and once we've got the ACAT, then we've got to sit around and get prioritised. We have no idea how long it's going to take to get prioritised. But the good thing is, people who are eligible for level 3 and 4, the high stuff, they can and will access the lower level subsidy from day one and get 4 hours assistance a week or whatever you put together in their CDC budget. Last one's typical, large, attractive, modern retirement village, older target group. Thank you. It's fairly expensive, occupancy's challenged. We've made ourselves an AP, we broker. This is the mainstream thing, where you are a retirement village and you elect to become an approved provider. We've got swags of people who will be eligible. In fact, we think that it'll be an enormous amount. It's a very old village. There's a very, very frail. We've had meetings. We have meetings with the residents there. I would be surprised if we don't end up with 100 people. And it'll have the benefit, of reducing the general services charge, because some of the things that go through the GSC will be able to be paid for by packages. That's what packages are about. So we can actually reduce the GSC as well as putting in a better value proposition for the retirement village and more care. Now, challenges, Predictions, 3 pages of predictions. Residential care, we won't get 7,600. It's not going to happen. There's no need for it. We'll be lucky to get 3,800 a year. That's extra. We might build 6,000 or 7,000, but I'm talking about extra beds. We moved from 192,000 to about 195,500 last year. There will be deregulation of beds, one way or another. If the government puts out 50,000 beds, which they're going to do by June, and there's 50,000 empty beds, that is effective deregulation. They have also made it very clear there will be full deregulation of beds. You can build one anywhere, just sort of like childcare centres. Occupancy will not increase. Get used to it. New for-profit services will go for larger proportions of supported people. Supported people, you get $20,000 from the government per person to assist them with the accommodation. Yeehaw! That's much better than RADs in many instances. And we are already seeing one major private sector group in the east accepting 60% of the people as being poor in new services. They don't want the RADs. They'd like the RADs if they came along, but they want full occupancy, high ACT fees, and $20,000 a year. Retirement villages. All villages will have some care. Increased care will add to the value. Unit sizes won't increase, they may decrease. Small units are very good if they have care. DMFs will stay. NORCs will grow in multi-level units. NORCs, naturally occurring retirement communities. And as we have all these wonderful unit blocks, I'm seeing this in Melbourne and Brisbane at the moment, not so much in Sydney, where people who've got big unit block developments are coming along to us and saying, we don't think we're going to sell. Can you turn us into a NORC? And I say, well, I happen to know a couple of nice home care providers. I know quite a few actually who would be delighted to work with you on it. And away we go. Pension and rental villages will become more profitable because the government pays for the costs, and unfunded residential care will expand. Home care. The for-profit sector will move from 10% to 50% of the sector in 5 years. Currently it's 10.4%. I see them as being able to move to 50%. I've looked at what happened in New Zealand, England and Germany, and that's what happened. So if you're in the private sector, a good time to be. If you're in the religious and charitable sector, there are some serious challenges ahead for many. All the empty level 2 packages will fill. There will be 10,000 more packages filled up very soon. Strong growth in care delivery in all villages. For-profit will be fully in the CHSP, the old hack area, with the next change from the government, which should be 1 July 2018. I'd encourage you all to look very closely at what CHSP provides. It's a good area to be in. 12.5% growth in home care this year. That's another 10,000 home care places this year, and another 10,000 next year. Wow, we've got 80,000 packages now. Imagine what it's going to look like when there's 100,000 packages out there. Thank you very much.